recording this so that people
We
will
start
know.
with voting?
Yeah, so we're going to start with the voting study guide. If anybody could get onto that drive, on the Google Drive and everything. And then we'll go through that. I'll pair you off and have you work on a couple of questions. And then if we have time, because we most likely will, move on to the political party study guide where we'll do the definitions. And if we have time, look at the questions. Sound good?
Okay.
All right, I'll share the screen. Done. Go to voting. Okay, let's see.
Oops.
Breakout rooms. Okay, so there's only gonna be like 2 rooms because there's only 5 of you guys right now. So it's gonna be like there's gonna be one group of 2 and one group of 3. And so I shall have group 1, whichever group is like the 2-person group, do just the G8 questions. So the definitions, so basically 1 through 3. And then the second group with the 3 people are gonna do 4 through 7. Or, oh wait, there are 10 questions. I lied. I apologize. Look at my own dang study guide. So yeah, let's just do, let's just split it up by, first group does the first 5 questions and the second group does the last 5. Make it simple. All right, so first group is gonna be Amber, Andrea, and Jordan. So you guys do the first 5, and then the second group is Brian and Joseph. And so you guys do the 6 through 10. Okay?
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. You just assign. Assign to breakout room. Cool. Alright, I'm gonna leave this. Hey guys. Did you guys incorporate Joanna?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I was just like, I know I just threw her into your guys' room and everything, but I was just like, we've been doing this, so like I figure you know the drill, but just wanted to make sure you're cool.
Okay.
All right, I will leave you to it then.
Ta-da.
Yay!
On my video and audio, that would be good.
Are you trying to talk to us?
Yeah, I was trying to talk to you and I didn't have like my audio and video on. And I was just like, oh, I realized I'm talking to nobody right now.
Yeah, we're just ignoring you, you know?
Yeah, no. It's just, well, everybody's here. All right, so let us start with our vocab words. So, what is suffrage?
Oh, you want me to say? Oh,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
it's sorry. It's the right to vote, which is like a legal right.
Yep. And then what's mobilization?
Is a process by which large numbers of people are organized for political activity.
Yeah. So, like a bunch of college students might mobilize to protest against the rise in tuition or something like that. What's election day registration?
It just allows eligible citizens to register to vote when they arrive at the facility.
Yeah. And so you can go to a voting booth and just be like, hey, I'm eligible to vote, but I haven't registered. Can you help me do so? I'm pretty sure that's becoming less of a thing, but
It's out there.
currently we still have it in place. What is a permanent absentee ballot?
Some states have the option where you have like a ballot automatically sent to you instead of like registering for it like every election time.
Yeah, exactly. You automatically have a mail-in ballot rather than being like, hey, I want a mail-in ballot this time. I'm not going to make it to the booths. Early voting.
It's the option in some states to cast a vote at a polling place or by mail before the election.
And this can happen as early as 2 months before the election, which is quite crazy because a lot of things can happen, as we saw in our last election. Ballot measures.
It's a piece of proposed legislation to be approved or rejected by eligible voters.
So it's just what's on your ballot to vote on, like the propositions that we have here in California. Just curious, how many of you were able to vote / did vote in the last election?
I voted.
Not really raise your hands or.
Like a verbal confirmation would be good because I have to like scroll through all of you.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan, you didn't vote.
I was able to.
Okay.
He wanted to vote, though.
Were you not old enough?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't registered in Sacramento, and they wouldn't
Oh.
allow me to vote.
Wasn't that stupid, though? He was registered somewhere else.
Were
But,
you
like,
registered in like
they
your
still wouldn't
hometown?
let him.
Yeah, I was in Contra Costa County, but when I moved up here for school, I didn't know how to register again, and so.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because on the ballot that they give you here, there are measures that have to do with specific
The city of Sacramento.
county
Right.
and city things. Yeah. So, yeah. So okay, I was just kind of trying to see like if you guys have seen like what the ballot looks like and everything, because that kind of gives you a really good idea of just like what's on there, which is like for like general election is like we had the president, we had the available, I think it was state senator, and then we also had some county stuff here for the California legislature. But, yeah. So high participant and low participant groups.
I don't know if this is right or not, but it's just people who obviously participate and people who don't participate.
Participate in what?
Voting or surveys or.
Okay, is that what you guys? Is that what this word is supposed to be? Is survey?
What is it? Yes. Oops.
Okay. I was just like, I can see how phonetically it makes sense. But so, in describing this group, yes, okay, the obvious answer is who participates and who doesn't. But think about it a bit more critically. Who demographically are able to be in, who is more likely to be in a high participant group as far as in voting?
Those educated and with a higher income.
Exactly. So let's say
It's really hard to hear you.
Yeah.
oh, it is?
It's like super scratchy.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can.
It's weird because it wasn't before.
Oh.
Like it started after we did the breakout.
I wonder if it's.
Yes.
I'll move closer to my router. That way. Oh no! I'm sorry, baby girl. My cat was under the blankets and I didn't realize. Oh, baby girl. Okay.
Poor kitty.
Normally she just goes under the covers and now she's under the sheets as well. It's fine. Is the sound a bit better? Or is it
Yeah,
still
it's a
pretty
lot
crackly?
better. No,
Okay.
it's good now. It's good.
Cool.
Thank you.
So, all right. So, yeah. So, people who have the opportunity to participate are going to be more likely, and that's going to be people who are educated and who have higher incomes. Low participant groups are those who usually don't have the opportunity, or if they're particularly apathetic about government. So let's change the study guide a little bit so you guys it reflects that.
What do you want me to change? Just that it's high.
Yeah, it's people who
Like
have
rich.
the opportunity to participate, particularly those who have high incomes and higher education.
Okay.
And then
Where is that?
but and so does that make sense to everyone? Cool. And then so why is voter turnout so low in the U.S.? And what are the consequences of this low turnout? Can and should it be turned? So it's number 3.
Yeah, Jordan did that one.
Okay.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
But-
I'm jumping to 3 and you're already.
I did number 4.
Oh, okay.
Number
I'm sorry,
3. Okay,
Jordan.
yeah.
I was jumping to number 3 and you were
No, you're
still
good.
editing.
So I said just that it's so low because that people are lazy and they see that it's not going to benefit them, but whereas they're not educated, so they don't see that factor that it will benefit them. And the consequences of this are that only one, I don't know if this is true or not, but I just did this number of 1/3 of the population of voters is that when they vote for a specific person, whether it's for a Republican or Democrat, and they'll get that person in office because they're the only people that vote, and that's the educated people. And it can be fixed, I think. I don't know what's the motive going to be, but I think that it's just something that's going to entice the people to want to vote. Whereas like taking surveys, sometimes they'll give you like a rebate or something. So I don't know if there's something in that they can do that, but obviously that's a lot of money. If giving everyone, I don't know, $10 to vote, that's a lot of money, but still.
Yeah. No, but yeah, there's a lack of motivation and kind of. I think it's funny because voting is in itself a self-interested act. Yet
Right.
we don't. The American public doesn't see where their self-interest comes in because of how large we are. They think of, oh, I'm just one of many, and they don't realize that, oh, there are all these different levels of government that you influence. It's not just the federal government that controls everything.
Right.
So yeah, and I don't know. Like I think we are seeing a little bit. We are seeing a small, a bit of a trend upward towards voter turnout because I think people are starting to see that, oh shit, this stuff affects me.
I think, yeah, in this election that this really woke up a lot of people saying that, yeah, if I don't vote, this can happen and getting the wrong
Well, like
president.
marijuana. Who knew, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see that, oh hey, if I do this thing, I can get good things that I like out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. But, all right, so let's move on to 4. And this was the R1 article, error and fraud at issue as absentee voting rises. So the question was, in what ways does a mail-in ballot differ from a vote at polls on election day? Describe the advantages and disadvantages of the two forms of voting.
Okay, so I said mail-in voting is more convenient. Well, yeah, and the ballots get mailed directly to the voters' houses. And voting at the polls can be more inconvenient, and voters might have to drive further to find a voting booth, which when I was voting when was it? I don't remember. But when I was voting, I feel like it's hard for people who don't have like cars or like a means, of transportation to get there. Because if I didn't have a car, I wouldn't like walk there, and it wasn't close enough for me to walk. So then I just wouldn't vote. So I think that is a big impact. And then
Yeah,
I said mail-in voting.
To stand in line to vote and everything.
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
Fun fact, I had Professor Friedman drive me to my voting place.
Really?
I was just like, hey, would you mind? And he was like, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, cause I mean, I don't drive. I bike. I have my permit, but I don't have my license. So it's difficult. But continue.
Definitely. Oh, okay. So I said mail-in voting is known to be fraudulent and is more likely to be rejected, whereas voting at the polls is said to be more secure and less fraudulent.
Because they're very skeptical about the signatures and stuff like that. So a lot of actually mail-in ballots get thrown away because they're deemed fraudulent. And so that's where some people don't quite trust the mail-in ballots because they're like, oh, there's a chance that my vote might get thrown away, even though it's my vote. And that, part of that does have to do with the fact that there are some cases where, for example, in like nursing homes, the caretakers will fill out the ballots and will vote as they please, rather than as the person that they're taking care of wants. And so let's go on to 5. Do the advantages of having a mail-in ballot as a supplement to voting on election day outweigh its disadvantages?
I wrote that the disadvantages do not outweigh the disadvantages because, like, in-mail ballots are meant to increase voter turnout, correct?
Yeah.
So if, like, they're getting thrown away because of signatures and, like, all that, then it's like if they didn't vote in the first place. So it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, but, and then I would say that was the more skeptical side of it because as a whole, I do agree that mail-in ballots is a better way to get a higher voter turnout because, like Amber said, transportation is such an issue for a lot of us. And let's say you're disabled and you need to stay in your home and everything. How else are you going to vote? So I think yeah, it's a double-edged sword, definitely. But I think to do away with it would do more harm than keeping it. But that's my personal view. If any of you would like to weigh in on that, I would definitely love to hear. Or if you agree, that's cool. So with that, let's move on to 6. What Voters Want by Emma Roller. So what does Emma Roller mean by when she says people use heuristics when deciding whom to vote? Are some heuristics more useful than others? Explain why or why not.
So what Emma meant by heuristics was like people have mental shortcuts to help them siphon through all the information that they get through in their days. And some heuristics that she was talking about was like physical appearances or like aspects about a person, like what they believe. Is it similar to yours and stuff like that?
What's like a physical appearance that somebody would be attracted to in like voting?
Somebody who's tall.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, if you're tall, you must be a leader. Or, oh, you have glasses, you must be smart. You know, those little things. Like, oh, blonde woman can't be that smart because all those stupid blonde jokes. No offense, Amber, because I'm sure you have to deal with that nonsense.
Yeah.
But, you know, see, people use these little, like, stupid things that are like, oh, you know, like, it doesn't make much sense logically, but it's like, it's an easy thing to be like, oh, okay. I'm not too sure on this. So, like, for example, with last names on a ballot or something, you know, you're trying to just, like, they give you 2 options of, like, these 2 councilmen, and you haven't read about the councilmen and everything and, like, what their positions are, and so you're just kind of like, okay, I see these 2 names, because this is an open primary, I don't know what their political affiliation is, so I'm going to base this off of their last name. One of their last names is closer to mine via heritage, so I'll probably choose that one, for example. That's what, those are kind of the mental shortcuts that Joseph was talking about. So, yeah. And so, like, having similar beliefs or values. So another heuristic is just being of the same party. And like, oh, okay, you're a Democrat? Sure, you must believe in everything that I believe in. Not to, you know, mention that, you know, Democrats can be completely different from one side to the other. And same with Republicans and any major political party. So, yeah, and kind of to continue that, so it was more of a personal question. Which heuristics, if any, do you or other people you know make use of, both in deciding who to vote for in other areas of your life?
We were
Well,
talking. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
That one, or?
So, yeah, what we came up with was education. You know, if the person doesn't have, you know, a lot of education, or they're just not very smart, I don't really, you know, want them in office. So.
And
then
tattoos.
Right, so possibly tattoos.
Like, tattoos,
It depends.
Piercings, and like colored hair and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I know that,
yeah.
I know my parents. My mom definitely judges people on that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not going over there.
Right, but I mean, it depends on what the tattoo is, or what the piercing is, or what the purpose of it is. I guess that might make a difference in the judge. But you always gotta be skeptical of even that, because they're always going to try and spin it a certain way. Anyway.
Actually, speaking of that, like, my mom does have kind of the dichotomy. She's like, nose piercings on, like, white people, no, but, you know, if you're Indian, like, Southeast Asian, that's part of your culture, yeah, sure. Not those punks.
Yeah. And then family values, obviously, family values, that should read, and family values. their career, whether a career prior to running for office, whether or not they have some experience. Obviously, if we have similar views, it's more likely. And then history of accomplishments, what have they done so far? Just like a resume.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Whether or not they could play basketball.
What?
So I guess you didn't vote for anybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Hillary learned something from Obama, but I don't think he cared to teach her.
Yeah.
I mean, they were acquaintances at best, I think. But yeah, okay. So that's kind of heuristics. Does that word and concept make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I want to make sure everybody's on track. Let's move on to 8. Of California's 38 million people, approximately how many are registered to vote?
48%.
Or can you choose the one that's...
Yeah, the 18 million.
Yeah, 18 million.
Sorry, I just wanted to make it difficult for everyone.
It's like, we're not math majors here, Brian.
Sorry.
Right?
I'm in government for a reason.
Brian's just that much ahead. He knows the percentages.
See, we government people, we're not good with numbers, even though that's how things work. That's why we have the econ majors. We just smash together. That's good. Interdisciplinary. Yeah. So, less than half people in California who are able to vote can't do vote. So just think about that in terms of who represents us and who chooses who represents and everything. I mean, if you're not registered and you're not voting, you have much choice about what affects your life. So, yeah, Californians, get registered. Especially with like midterm elections coming in and everything. But yeah, okay. In running for state legislature, incumbents and challengers spend around the same amount of money on their campaigns. True or false?
So we kind of guessed on this one. I'm not actually sure, and I don't have my book with me. I can't go find out real quick, and it's been a while. So.
Well, you guys got it right.
Yeah, the kind of logic behind it was that, the incumbents and challengers won't spend the same amount for their campaigns, simply because they have different goals. An incumbent just needs to stay in, and so they might have to work. They might not have to work as hard. That's not always true, of course. And then challengers definitely need to raise a lot more awareness about themselves, so they need to spend more.
And also, incumbents have the advantage of already being in office and being able to use those resources.
That's true.
It's much easier for them to reach all the people than a private. So yeah, on average, and on average also as well, incumbents will regain their seat compared to a challenger. So they're already kind of taking it easy in some ways.
All right.
So and that kind of has to do more with like campaign financing and everything. So let's move on to 10. California presently operated under which of the following primary election systems?
So this one was the modified closed which means it's like a closed, but instead of taking the highest voted person from from each party, it's going to be the highest two from the entire pool, regardless of party.
But I do want to say that this is for the California legislature, and that for the primary presidential election, the primaries for the presidential election, like when it was Bernie versus Hillary and Trump versus the 16 others, that is actually an open primary in California. So no matter what party you're registered with, you can vote for whoever you want in the presidential primary.
Oh.
So,
So it's more accurately an open primary?
yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that question was a little bit confusing. It did need a bit more context in it. I do.
So for presidential elections, it's an open primary?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's kind of the one that you have to be more concerned about,
Right.
as far as primary elections, because in some states that let's say ones that have a closed primary, if you are registered as a Republican, you can only vote in the Republican primary. You can only vote among those candidates. You can't vote for one of Democratic candidates in the Democratic primary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what time it is. Oh, it is 6:51, so it is time to head out. So unfortunately, we didn't get to the political party study guide. So for that, I would really stress making sure to just do the definitions. If you have time, you guys can work on them together. And also try, at least look at and think about the questions that are on the study guide, even if you don't have time to really answer them.
That's possibly for quiz tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the quiz tomorrow will be either on voting or political parties.
Cool.
And
Alrighty then. Thanks for the review.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's probably going to be like a definition type quiz.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of stressing those, but definitely look at the questions.
Cool.
But,
I gotta run, so thanks guys.
Yep.
See ya.
See you. And if anybody has any more last questions, I can answer them. If not, we can end the meeting. All right. I shall see you guys either tomorrow or on Wednesday. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.